They told you it was a sweet tale about a bird who was too plain to love, until he turned beautiful. The truth is harsher. The ugly duckling wasn't born out of kindness. It was forged out of humiliation, exile, and a writer's lifelong struggle to be seen as human in a world that laughed at him. Tonight we'll strip the glitter off a nursery classic and walk into the cold reeds where this story really lives. A winter of bullying so relentless the hero almost dies, a spring that does not save him, and a final reveal that is not magic at all. If you think you know this tale because you've seen a picture book, prepare to meet the version its author actually wrote. Spare, cruel, and truer than the bedtime gloss ever admitted. We begin in a quiet farmyard at the edge of a pond. A mother duck waits on a clutch of eggs that take too long to hatch. When the shells finally break, one chick is larger than the rest. His down is grey, his neck is long, and he moves with an awkward shuffle. The other ducklings stare, then laugh. The hens peck. The gander snorts. The barnyard closes ranks. The mother duck tries to defend him and tells the yard he will grow into himself. Days pass and nothing changes. He does not become handsome. He becomes a target. Mealtime turns into shoving. Play turns into teasing. Sleep turns into hiding. The mother duck grows tired and ashamed. The grey chick learns the path around the pond that keeps him out of the way. He is not getting better. He is getting lonelier. The ugly one flees. Geese mock him. Hunters shoot. Dogs rush past him with teeth bared and then ignore him, as if even killing him is not worth it. He stumbles into a cottage. A cat and a hen torment him until he runs back into the marsh. Autumn arrives. The reeds turn brittle. He sees wild swans for the first time. Great white shapes cutting the sky like knives of light, and he feels something pull in his chest he cannot name. Winter hits hard. Ice closes the pond around his legs. A farmer breaks the crust, carries the half-frozen bird home, and chaos explodes. Children shriek, a milk pail spills, the duckling bolts and nearly freezes again. By spring he has survived, but he has not changed. He is still grey. He is still alone. Then one morning he sees swans land on the water and decides he would rather die quickly than live as a joke. He lowers his head to wait for the killing blow, but the water mirrors a neck that is long and white. The swans circle him not as executioners but as kin. He did not become beautiful. He always was a swan. The world was wrong about him the entire time. That is the plot Andersen published in 1843. No fairy godmother, no tidy lesson about inner beauty, no promise that kindness changes bullies. It is a survival story, and its ending is not magic. It is recognition. The author, Hans Christian Andersen, grew up poor in Odense, Denmark, the son of a shoemaker and a washerwoman. He was tall, painfully awkward, and mocked for his face, voice, and clothes. He wanted the stage but failed as a performer. He was ridiculed at school, called slow, odd, and vain. Teachers tried to hammer strict Latin into him, while boys made sport of his mannerisms. He carried that sting for life. By the time he wrote The Ugly Duckling, Andersen was already famous for tales that mixed tenderness with pain. But this story is the clearest self-portrait he ever risked. The barnyard is the society that sized him by birth and appearance. The cottage with the bullying cat and hen is the room full of respectable people reminding him he didn't belong. The winter is the long season of not fitting anywhere, not even in the art world he loved. And the swans, those are not a prize for good behavior. They are a fact he could not prove until he endured long enough to be recognized on his own terms. This is critical. The book version you remember probably said the duckling turned into a swan. Andersen did not write that. Cygnets, real baby swans, are grey and ugly by barnyard standards. They do not transform into a different species. They mature into what they were the whole time. The story isn't about becoming something else. It's about discovering the truth you carried while everyone else insisted you were a mistake. Modern retellings sand down the edges. Andersen leaves them sharp. The duckling is pecked, pushed, hunted, and frozen. He spends an entire winter barely alive. When he sees the swans in autumn, he feels joy that hurts because he thinks their beauty condemns him. He imagines falling dead at their feet, so at least his last sight will be something right. Those lines are not there to shock children. They are there to tell survivors they are not weak because they are tired. He names the ache that comes from being misnamed. And the barnyard? Andersen does not make its cruelty lesson-shaped. The older animals speak in social clichés. They act wise while they enforce smallness. The hen tells him to lay eggs or keep quiet. The cat lectures him on the importance of purring and arching the back. The message is clear. If you don't perform our approved roles, you are ugly by definition. That is not a fable about being nicer. It's an indictment of a world that punishes difference and calls that punishment morality. It's tempting to see the mirror scene as a dramatic, magical change. Andersen builds it as a test of despair. The duckling chooses to face the swans even if they kill him. He accepts that if he is to be destroyed, he wants it to be by something he loves. Instead of death, he receives recognition. The other swans bow. Children point and shout, a new one. The barnyard never apologizes. There is no courtroom. There is only the right company, at last. That matters because it changes the takeaway. This is not just wait, someday you'll be hot. It is find your lake. Find the place where your shape makes sense and the rules are different. You do not need the old yard's approval. You need the right flock. Stories like The Ugly Duckling leave a quiet question hanging in the air. Was the suffering about changing who you are, or about being in the wrong place all along? I'm genuinely curious how you see it. Leave a comment before we go further. When people ask for the real story behind The Ugly Duckling, they often want a secret origin. The secret is hiding in plain sight. Andersen wrote an original tale, not a borrowed folk story, and he wrote it like a diary entry you could read to a child. It's an immigrant story without a border crossing. It's an artist's story without a stage. It's a class story without money talk. And it is honest about the cost. He does not reward the duckling with triumph over bullies. There is no scene where the barnyard clucks in shame. No one is punished. The reward is belonging. The victory is seeing and being seen. If you look closely, the last page also grants dignity to the mother duck, who did try to defend her strange chick at the start. She didn't understand him, and she couldn't stop the crowd, but she did her small part. Andersen spares her. The story is not a blood feud, it is a release, because most of us were taught the opposite lesson. We were told to make ourselves smaller or shinier until the yard said good. Andersen offers no comfort about earning acceptance by work alone. The duckling works every day just to survive. He runs, hides, keeps moving, endures winter. But endurance doesn't turn him into a swan. Time only reveals what nature already decided and society already denied. The real hope is not that bullies become kind, it is that the world is bigger than the yard that hurt you. There's another reason the tale endures. It tells the truth about timing. Spring does not arrive when we want it. The right companions do not show up on demand. The duckling's lake is not a lesson plan. It's a place he finds because he stays alive long enough to reach it. That is a brutal kind of hope, but it's real. First, the moral shifts. The picture book ending suggests beauty equals worth. Andersen's ending says identity equals worth, and the world might not see it for a very long time. Second, the villain changes. It isn't an evil witch or a single bully. It's a chorus of ordinary voices insisting their small rules are universal truths. Third, the hero's arc is not self-improvement. It's endurance plus recognition. That may be the most radical move in a children's story from a society that prized social conformity. You also notice how physical the text is. The humiliation is not abstract. They are beaks and boots. The cold is not poetic. It bites. When the bird sees the swans, the rush of feeling is not someday. It's right now. And when he realizes what he is, he does not boast. He hides his head under his wing. He is grateful, and he is tired. Isn't this just a glow-up story? No, the grey cygnet was never a duck. He doesn't become a different creature. He becomes visible as himself. Isn't the lesson that beauty solves problems? No. The swans accept him because he is one of them, not because he scored higher on a barnyard beauty test. If he had stumbled into a flock of cranes, the ending would be the same. Recognition, not hotness. Doesn't this excuse cruelty by saying you'll be fine later? It names cruelty and refuses to flatter it. The text never says the barnyard was right to be cruel. It says the barnyard was wrong, and the only way the hero could prove it was by surviving long enough to leave. Why keep it so dark for kids? Because kids know what exclusion feels like. Andersen respected that knowledge. He wrote a story that doesn't lie about pain, but also doesn't let pain be the final word. When you map scenes from the tale to the man, the shadows line up. Andersen's youth in Copenhagen was a chain of closed doors. Theatre directors who rolled their eyes, patrons who helped but also controlled, teachers who harped on his accent and posture. He hungered for approval from elites who treated him like a curiosity. He wrote himself into rooms anyway. He stayed through his winters, and when the world finally bowed to his work, he didn't convert his doubters. He simply found more swans, readers who didn't need to be persuaded he was worth reading. That's why The Ugly Duckling reads like both confession and map. It is not the whole man, but it is the most honest note he ever sent to anyone who had been told they were wrong for being exactly what they are. It means you can pick the ending you need. If the cheerful illustration got you through a bad year, keep that picture. If the real text helps you forgive yourself for not winning your yard's approval, keep that too. The power of this story is that its last image is not a speech, it is a sight. A bird finally looking like himself in the only mirror that mattered. If you're watching this at a rough time, here's the simplest reading I can offer. You do not owe the yard a performance. You owe yourself a lake. After the swans welcome him, children call out with delight. Adults nod. The reeds lift in the breeze, and the bird hides his head. He is not triumphant. He is relieved. He is not bigger. He is right-sized at last. Andersen ends there because he wants the hush, not the cheer. He wants you to remember the sound a soul makes when it stops arguing with itself. If this changed how you see The Ugly Duckling, tap subscribe so the next deep dive finds you. Hit like if this helped you read the tale with new eyes. And tell me in the comments which version you grew up with and whether you think the real ending is hopeful or just honest. And if there's another gentle story you want unsoftened, drop the title. I'll bring the original back into the light.